Ladies and gentlemen, this is the First Circuit Podcast, episode 81. The topics today include the current event for Mechwarrior Online, the Faction Play public test session, and of course, as always, in this time of the month, the upcoming patch. Your hosts today include Bida,
Blarg,
Oldbob,
Blarg,
who's apparently dead,
Blarg,
and of
Blarg.
course-
apparently not including Oldbob.
Blarg.
apparently, including Oldbob. He's just alright. And of course, lastly, myself. Thank you all for joining us.
For episode 81.
Are we doing a thing where if Ian ever addresses Oldbob, he just ignores him?
You know what? I want to keep this.
I'm going to keep it too.
Woo-wee, this is Uncle Bob with the price you'll be loud citizen not to take me up on. Looky here, a Shadowhawk 2H for only 4.4 million C-bills. Yes, folks, that is 4.4 million C-bills with its original leather seating, original production stamp from Earthworks Incorporated, and also an old Starly sticker from when this little baby fought in the SLDF World Division during the Armored Civil War. Tell you what, if you come down and test drive this piece of advanced tech, I'll even throw in a cooling vest just so you can keep cool while basking in the open sun of Talcott with your little lady sipping Mai Tais on the beach. Included is an autocannon 5 from Defiance Industries, such a good gun. One long-range missile from Coventry Metalworks. One medium laser from Bergen Industries and was polished by yours truly. And one of my favorites is a CERM launcher from Canopus Industries Alpha, or CIA. Check out this little baby work. I love this thing. Woo-wee, that's a sight to behold, yes sirree. Now if your credit's kind of sketchy, we can work with that. We also do bulk deals for lances and mechs in our boneyard. Get this hawk before it's gone and used against you. Operators are standing by. If you come down to Saturday, we have balloons for the kids.
Alright, serious business this podcast is, and so is the event.
I played this last night, actually, and it wasn't too hard. I just finished it up this morning, last night. If you guys don't know, I did the Just Up stream, and that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I did Mechwarrior Online, and it was fun. You know, I didn't really pay attention. I still got the stuff. So, just like all the different events lately, they have been just play the game and just get some serious stuff.
This event is, just play the game and you get some stuff. I'm really not a fan of it compared to last week. Last week it was just accumulate just like 50 components and you've completed one little bit. You get a tiny bit of MC and C-bills.
Yeah.
With this one, though, there's always 2 conditions or more that are connected together. So 3 protected proximity rewards, 10 lance and formation rewards. Each of them is like a couple of things bundled together. Which is just a little bit of quite a bit more of a nuisance whenever I'm just trying to complete one challenge because there's several steps involved. The rewards is also not so enticing. A lot of them are just C-bills and GXP, which I already have oodles of. I'd like to getting just 25 MC in each one.
Actually, I'm with you on that one for a simple reason is that, having the, must do 500 damage medium, 1,000 in assault, and 250 in light, and 250 in heavy. It's like, those are cool and everything, but sometimes I just want to play medium. I'm working on a certain type of mech, and I just want to go play that mech and go do that kind of thing. Having multiple win conditions to get whatever it is, it's just like, okay, I gotta go play my stupid assault, which I'm not a big fan of playing like anyways, and I just want to go play my medium mechs. I just want to go play my heavy mechs, or even for people who want to go play lights. So I mean, like, it's free stuff. I mean, that's how I kind of look at it too. It's free things that I get to have for my alt account, so it's kind of nice doing that.
Yeah, we shouldn't complain too hard about free things.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, but I'm complaining. I think that's what it is.
It is nice to see. This is a rare instance with their events. There is a day of premium time on offer with the Safeguard event. I still really believe that you should just put the premium time at the start. Like, play one match, get 50 match score, you get your premium time.
Absolutely.
And that gives extra incentive to do the whole thing rather than having to go through the list, look through the objectives, and say, "Oh, I need 5 savior kills and 250 missiles destroyed." The 250 missiles destroyed is fine if I have an AMS mech, and the 5 savior kills. I mean, most people probably don't. I don't even really know the full conditions for a savior kills. Why make this so obtuse?
Actually, you're right about that. I have no clue what a savior kill is. Is that
Savior
just
kill is whenever you kill a target who has, before his death, done a significant amount of damage to a teammate of yours or yourself.
Yeah.
However, I do not know what a significant amount means in terms of numbers.
numbers
Yeah.
wise? Numbers. Give us numbers. Yeah. Like, I'm with you in that one. Like, I'd rather actually have it in the beginning. That way, like, like my cult account doesn't have any premium time. But if I got this premium time, it's like, cool. Okay, now I could go through all the different other ones if it's an easy thing. So, like, like one component or 50 like AMS, get a premium time, and then I'll be using for everything else that's down the list. I think I got this morning. I played all last night, but got this morning, and it's like, okay, well, like, I'm done playing. This kind of sucks. It's like, okay.
Savior kills are a two-edged sword. On the one hand, you can get them really easy if there's a big brawl going on. But if the enemy is efficient at instantly killing whoever they're targeting, you're never gonna get one. So I don't like the bundling of the premium time of the savior kills.
Yep, it's it's a bit of the roll of the dice with savior kills, which means you might need to play a fair number of matches until you actually finally get that premium time, which is really sad because the point of these objectives sometimes, particularly the premium time one, is you want somebody to either work towards it or it to be something that they get at the very beginning, no matter what.
Yeah, true. Like, can you
And 250 missiles destroyed. I mean, if you're a new player again, you might not actually even have an AMS mech, so you have to change your build, slap on a single AMS, and then you have to hope you are on a match where there's enough missiles flying in the air and you shoot down enough over time, which is a nuisance.
But hey, Bayer, at least a single AMS is gonna get you those 250 missiles in no time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if 250 missiles are fired on the battlefield, your extended range and everything else will.
Let's not talk about missiles just yet.
Later on.
All right. The other component, so to speak, that people probably miss is before you click through onto the actual event details, there's also a meme contest going on.
Memes.
The mocking lunchbox event or whatever, I'm not sure what to call it, but they posted an image thing and people are just posting memes with that in a thread, and if you win, the 10 best ones get a mech bay.
Let's start with the obvious thing about this. Oh my god, their Photoshop skills are terrible.
Wow, yeah, I know.
If you look at the format picture towards the arms, it's an ice ferret for those of you who don't know what lunchbox or fridge means. It's an ice ferret which they just apparently cut out of some of the internal rendering and put in place on Grimplexes, and it looks terrible. It's so out of place. And the format is kind of meh.
Actually,
but hey, some of the memes are really good.
Actually, I like this one here. It says, "Is this a meme?" And that's it. That's actually pretty funny. I like that one.
I kind of like cringe humor, and this is a great cringy theme and meme.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you want to see some Mechwarrior Online memes, go ahead on the forums right now, find the thread, and yes, some of those are really good. I was loving quite a bit.
Just think of your cringiest meme and just throw it in there. Who cares? And hope that you get a mech bay. How is Babby formed? There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
That took me a second. All right,
You must
I'll take
construct
it.
additional pylons. There we go.
Sure. All right, moving on to the second topic of the podcast, Faction Play Public Test Session.
Yay!
I believe Bob is the only one who actually played it, so do you know the background? What's going on there?
I played and I shot missiles and I got match score and I got stuff, and that's basically what happened. Pretty much, I wasn't paying attention as far as like a matchmaker, and I, we don't know the exact numbers and how exactly it works or like whatever basically, but for what they're saying, it's Elio score. So like let's say I'm like top of the line, which I'm not. I'm a potato. But if I'm top of line, I'll fight other top of line groups. And so like let's say faction play, normal faction play, where you play for 30 minutes. A team of 12 will only fight team of 12s first for the ELO score, based on who's in the team, like instead of just groups, from what I understand. And then it'll then if they don't have that, then it'll start filling in from the top going on down. So that's all I really know about it. Like when I played the like I only play scouting mission like with Chris Laurie for like a couple games, and it was just the same thing from scouting from normal stuff. It was, you know, basically I didn't notice anything different as far as how they did things. But of course this is PTS and they have all the numbers involved into that.
So yeah, they're involving the matchmaker update. I think they're just at least to start with just using the player tier. So if you're tier 1, which I think your main account even is, Bob, you're counted as among the best.
I'm the best.
On the same level as anyone who plays competitive.
Yeah.
Which seems a fair judgment, and shoves you against all those people. Obviously, the lower tiers, there is some pretty bad players there, and it is sort of nice that they can sort of bump against each other and not be just swamped by really good players. But usually, as long as you played enough, you usually most people go up to tier 1 regardless. They discussed some story-driven conflict system. Did you see anything about that?
No, I actually didn't fight the main thing. I only played scouting, so I didn't fight the main 30-minute victory. But it was just I just played story. I just played scouting, so it was it was fun there.
So for the story-driven conflict system, I like the basic idea. So what they're doing is they're starting a conflict in multiple phases, and depending on which side of certain phase wins, the next phase is going to be influenced by that. I mean, it's a really simple system. What I wonder about is whether this is somewhat automated, meaning we should get a lot of those, or if it's still a manual thing, in which case it's probably going to be rare.
I'm not sure. They are increasing the C-bills and XP, which is one of the main complaints about faction warfare. I know it's like, well, I could go to quick play and get get more C-bills than getting my ass stomped by another 12-man team. So they actually are increasing that, which is the best thing they could have done.
Yeah, so they're increasing all rewards by a minimum of 15%, including in-game stuff like kill assists, kills, and so on, which is really a good incentive for people to play faction play. But we're gonna have to see whether it's enough to win the extra time investment for faction play.
I mean, like, if they do a good job, I plan on playing faction play a lot more. I want something where a planet means something instead of like, ooh, look, that planet got taken. I don't really give a crap, type thing. I want something where it means something like the whole faction will lose, experience points if that planet got taken or something like that. That way we go back in there, fight for the planet to get to not have that penalty for us or something.
Oof.
I don't know.
But I mean, at the very least, they are doing something that we've discussed in the past. With the conflict system, once you choose a side for a certain conflict, you're locked into that side. And you only be able to change your side after the conflict ends. So at the very least, you can only fight for one side, which is good, I guess.
But like clans and clans and fair.
Though I'm curious, at least in some ways, I mean, I only ever do the faction play when there's the events for it. And sort of similarly to Old Bob, they say, oh, do 3 matches with at least 50 match score. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do scouting rather than the 30-minute mode.
Yeah. That's what I did. That's what I did too.
And hopefully I could just do that. And at least all the changes they're doing, it doesn't impact just going into a few scrims on scouting.
So like Ian, you were talking about you can't just go from clan to Intersphere and back to and then back to clan again, like in the same conflict. You were talking about that?
That's what they're describing, at least. After selecting your role, you will be asked which side do you want to fight on. You confirm this, and you're locked into the world faction until the end of the conflict.
I think that's good. I actually like that idea. That way you won't have like people flip-flopping like crazy.
Yeah. And then for the conflict events, those phases are apparently different. Like they're saying phase 1 is all scouting, and only after that you're gonna get invasion.
Okay.
So it's
That
definitely
means
in the right direction.
well, that means me and old Bob only have a limited grind window.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can always play outside the conflict, I guess.
Hopefully, yeah.
Eh. Well, of course, this is.
I just want to be able to grind the events, when they come up, and just do scouting and avoid all the craft. Faction play.
Well, it all depends. If they really do a good job in faction play, I'll start playing some faction play. I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but like before, it's like I really didn't care about faction play. I'll just grind out the scouting stuff and get all the free rewards and stuff like that. But they do a good job and fix faction play where it means something. I'll play faction play. I'll be in there like doing drop calls and having fun, enjoying team play and all that kind of stuff. I would have no problem doing that. But just all the other times, like I don't want to have to do all the faction play at all.
Yeah, for me, these changes overall will have to accomplish two things. First off, increase the rewards.
Yeah.
Minimum 15%. Who knows? I'm gonna test it once the changes go live, whether that's enough to keep me into it. And the second thing, the conflict system. If this is actually flushed out the way I'm hoping it might be at some point, so that winning or losing actually matters, that might certainly draw me into faction play. But unless both of those criteria are met, I'm still gonna stick with quick play.
Yeah. I just need something where it brings me in. I did not encounter any error 63s while I was playing, and but of course I only played about 4 or 5 games scouting. But yeah, it was fun. It was exciting. I met a really cool person. I forgot his name though, but I met a really cool person like online. Forgot his name.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we know the routine at this point. We're going to have several months, like let's say 3 months of PTSs, and in the end they roll out some minor changes to faction play. Oh, and by the way, we have doubled all Inner Sphere survival quirks.
Exactly. Oh my god.
I feel like your current political situation is affecting your optimism.
Yeah.
But hey, let's stay positive. Maybe this is gonna be amazing. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Give it some time.
We'll see. Okay, so like next up is what, the patch notes, correct?
Patch notes. And,
oh boy.
I mean, I'm seeing the first pictures and I'm already. Oh yes, I want it. So should we start with the real meat of the new mech?
You want the mech?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I love this mech so much.
All right, Marauder 2. That was if you pre-ordered Mechwarrior 5, you will get the Marauder 2 pack, any level basically. Even just the standard pack is for the standard Mechwarrior 5 pre-order, and that's how I'm getting the Marauder 2 as well.
Yeah,
and
same
hopefully,
here.
unless you're old Bob,
no, actually, I had to pay for this.
If you no, unlike old Bob, if you pre-ordered early enough and put in the code.
Oh, except for that, yeah.
Early enough, you would have got the pre-order rewards as well.
Yeah, well, that happens. Hey, I'm a busy guy, man. Damn it. So that means I won't get the cool decals, the Marauder 2 standing cockpit item, the 3 awesome colors, pineapple yellow, tropical pool green, and aqua blue, and the Franken pattern, and 6.5 million C-bills. But oh well, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well.
So, but there is actually also a countdown associated with the Marauder 2. So, have you guys seen the quirks, the agility for this mech, the general shape of the mech, and just general impressions all around?
I haven't looked at the quirks yet, no.
Well, I've looked at it, but I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not biter, so all those stats don't mean so much to me.
All right. I mean, I could get started with all these stats and numbers. The interesting issue with the Marauder 2 is often that it's sort of a 100-ton energy boat.
Yeah.
Which is really tricky for Inner Sphere because you got the issue with your engines or weight-saving upgrades like Endo Steel taking a lot of space and double heat sinks being huge. It's really hard to cram in enough cooling to actually keep the mech running. Whereas the clans with their smaller double heat sinks, it's a lot, and much smaller weight saving upgrades, it's a lot easier for them to make laser boats. All the Inner Sphere 100 tonners very strongly need survival quirks, and a lot of them also have weapon quirks. And for this, the Marauder 2 is kind of lacking on a fair number of mechs. It's only getting structure, not armor, which is unique amongst the Inner Sphere 100 tonners. Structure, particularly for these energy boats, is quite an issue because it means you get opened up and then critted out fairly quickly, structure or not. And that means you're losing heat sinks, you're losing laser weapons. It will probably feel quite bad overall, at least survival-wise. Whilst the mech stays together for a while, its effectiveness drops off quickly once you stripped its armor.
Yeah. Hey, got a question for you. On the 4L, if you look at the quirks, has ERPPC HSL +1. The problem is though it only has two. It only has two like energy ports. So that HSL doesn't do crap though.
It does do crap because ERPPCs are linked to Gauss rifles.
Oh, the Gauss rifles. That's right. I forgot about it. See, they changed so much stuff, man. Jesus, you know, make a damn page that says here's all the changes we did over the last 3 years.
There's a fair number of mechs with the ERPPC heat scale limit quirk, but yeah, it is not completely intuitive that is how it works. Because yeah, as you can see on the stock loadout, it's got Gauss rifles in the arms and the PPC fairly highly mounted on that central dorsal fin. It can fire all three of those without any ghost heat. The issue is always just this. It's just like the bounty hunter. But you're stuck trying to just make use of the other two ballistics somehow in the arms.
Like the weird thing though is that top mounted port basically for any type of weapon, like say ballistics or whatever. That's actually interesting. That's a nice poking profile just with that weapon.
The big question though is that is probably going to have a hitbox of its own.
Yeah.
Which means you can only actually see the target once your head is exposed. That means all that space above it is what you have to expose to actually fire the mech. You only need the laser above the head. This really high mount actually causes convergence issues, or at least it's more liable to cause convergence issues than be a really good poking. And the thing is, what are the hitboxes on that really high mounted weapon mount? Because you might find your center torso takes a lot of extra damage from that dorsal fin, or your side torsos take a lot of extra damage just because this thing can catch a lot of flak, and you have to duck down really far to actually hide it, which means you might not want to actually put a weapon there at all. Like you can see on the missile variant, it doesn't have that tall, big dorsal fin, and that will save a lot of surface area.
Yeah.
All the Marauders are actually getting the best agility quirks of the 100 tonners for Inner Sphere, which is pretty neat. It's only we're talking instead of 8 kph, it's like 11. 8.5 kph. It's 11ish kph. It's a very slight increase, but it is there, except for the Missile Marauder. The Missile Marauder was the most interesting Marauder when we saw the launch on Mechwarrior 5, and it was the one I was most interested in. This one has got absolutely zero survival quirks. It has also got it's got the same agility of all the other 100 tonners, so it's the least agile, least survivable Marauder to see. And as of course, after the March patch, missile weapons are not actually that viable right now, or at least are not so consistent, which means terrible weapon systems, terrible agility, no survival whatsoever. You have to treat this as a fragile clan missile boat. The Missile Marauder was the most interesting one of the whole pack. It was an unparalleled new missile boat we could had in the game. It has great opportunities to boat multiple missile systems together with energy. And this particular mech, in a pattern of PGI hating missile weapons, has meant that this mech has got royally shafted compared to the others. Most other Marauders at least get survival in the torsos, which if you ever played even just the regular Inner Sphere Marauder, is very, very important.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the one thing to mention at least is that whilst all Innisphere assault mechs have got usually really need those survival quirks. The Annihilator is a good example of a mech that actually had to have its survival quirks tuned back a lot because of its great hitboxes. The Marauder will be able to probably make use of fairly good hitboxes as well. It might have an Annihilator situation. The issue is, on average, the weapon hardpoints are a lot less interesting. Ballistics for such a heavy mech are way more interesting than energy hardpoints or ballistics stuck in the arms. The Marauder had really, really awkward hardpoints compared to the Annihilator, and it really needed either weapon quirks or survival quirks to make it viable. The survival quirks are decent enough, but leave the mech vulnerable to being critted out. It needed armor, not structure, just like all the other Innisphere 100-tonners. It does not get weapon quirks like many of the Annihilators or Atlases or King Crabs or Fafnirs. It in fact is on the weapon category is fairly weak. They're only getting stuff like UAC jam chances, heat scale limit quirks. There's a 10% ballistic cooldown, I guess, at least, but all in all, this thing is very underquirked. And the saddest thing of all is, of course, the one Marauder that had any good prospects to start with, the Missile Marauder, has been absolutely shafted in terms of survivability, agility, and weapon quirks.
Hey, Biter, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you write all this out ahead of time?
No.
I mean, it sounded like you wrote all this out ahead of time. I'm like, wow.
that was all on the fly.
Damn.
And I only saw that the quirks were up before the podcast, so I had to quickly go and check up all my
stats,
update all my spreadsheets as well.
But damn, yeah. The 4 HP, it got shafted. But I don't think that's part of the main pack, right?
The 4 HP, the missile one, is part of the standard pack, so I will be getting this one. And I was really looking forward to this with Mechwarrior 5, that after the missile nerfs and looking at its quirks and stuff, I'm very, very disappointed.
Yeah, I see this as a big missile boat. That's what's going to happen, man. Lerm 15s and Lerm 10s, I see a lot of that happening, and a lot of salt coming onto that mech. A lot of salt.
Because of its lack of quirks and survival and things, the best thing to do is you take 9 LRM 10s or so, 8 LRM 10s or something stupid like that, and hide in the back and just pepper people slowly to death.
Yeah.
One thing to note, at least unique to all the Marauders, or most of them, I think, is the fact that you can equip jump jets in them. So
yes,
and there's one variant that can actually take more jump jets than the rest. Woo! Still, 100-tonner jump jets are 2 tons a pop, and you have to pack a fair amount even to get anywhere near any good jump height.
I think the best quirks for survivability will probably be the 5A, right? Base structure basically has them all.
5A and the 4A are both the ones with predominantly energy. The fact that the arms and legs get structure is nice, particularly since this mech does use arm mounts. I don't think, particularly since it's a 100-tonner, that they're often going to strip and destroy your arms, but we'll have to wait and see how it actually plays. What you're most critically wanting with these mechs is just torso survival stuff, which most of them get, except if you have missiles, because I hate missiles, says PGI.
Yeah.
I get the feeling we're already warming up for the next part of the patch notes.
Yeah.
Still, we'll have to wait and see. Innisphere energy boats can be okay. Usually, though, the sweet spot is something around 70 tons, like the Grasshopper, maybe, where you have enough tonnage to actually fit those PPCs, large lasers, and whatnot, and take an XL engine. But the extra tonnage doesn't actually help, because suddenly you got a lot more tonnage to work with, but you have to give up on endo and other upgrades to actually fit multiple heatsinks.
Did you see the picture of the missile one? How it has like a billion missiles coming at you? That's interesting.
The countdown.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh my god. Oh man, yeah.
The missile one, if you were looking forward to doing stupid gimmicks, it can still do that. Take 9 rocket 10s or as many rockets as you can. You fire your big splurge, and then you give up to the fate of a Night Star.
Yeah.
Well, even worse, you fire your big splurge and then you shut down for the next 2 minutes.
Well, in the end, you just die, and you have fulfilled your purpose.
Oh, that's what you're saying about. Yeah, sure.
Admittedly, the Missile Marauder, once you've finished your gimmick, is actually worse than the Night Star because all the Night Stars actually got survival stuff. The big problem with the Night Star was, of course, just it only got structure. Again, structure, not armor. These bigger mechs need armor quirks to make sure they actually stay together and they keep their equipment. This one doesn't even get structure. The Night Star, it might, again, we might have a new contender for a new Night Star here. Who knows?
Oof, that's a harsh sentence.
Damn. Well, we'll see how it goes in the battlefield. I probably not going to use it that much for a simple reason. I'm not an assault pilot, but I did get it, so I will use it for like the first, next week basically, and then shelve it like the rest of my assault mechs.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this segment on a positive note because I just the whole time Bido was flaming the mech, I was just looking at the screenshots, and oh my god, this thing is pretty. I wanted, and I think that's gonna be the purpose for me. It's pretty.
It's
It
pretty.
will have, it does have a nice cluster of hard points. So the arms are a little low, but it's not going to have too bad an exposure profile. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how good those the hitbox locations are. Really,
Yeah.
that's a crucial thing because just like I said, the Annihilator is actually really good at spreading damage. Just it could waddle along and people will spread damage because they're panicking. It's an Annihilator. An energy boat Marauder, you're not going to panic people so much, but it can still, just like a regular Marauder, spread damage fairly well. I need to look at the quirks, but it's kind of funny. This thing gets similar structures survival as Inner Sphere Marauder. Yeah, the regular Marauder 3R.
Really?
Which is, well, the 3R is insane in terms of its survival quirks, which is why it's always a pretty decent Marauder. Yeah, I mean, the regular Inner Sphere Marauder gets 23 structure in its center torso. All these Marauder 2s are getting 23 structure in their center torsos.
So, like, a heavy mech is almost as good as this, 100-tonner mech, then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the skills will give a bigger percentage bonus to your structural survival.
Yeah.
But you do start, because you're 100 tons, with more survival because you're 100 tons. But yeah, it's got the same quirks as the Marauder 3R, and the Marauder 3R has a better shape, much better agility. If you want a Marauder shape with ballistics and energy, take a Marauder 3R.
So Marauder 2 coming out Tuesday, guys. If you're playing assaults, be a mech for you, and also be a long waiting list because a lot of other people got it too for Mechwarrior 5. So definitely interested in that to go see what's going on, and we'll give a review on next week's podcast as well too. So what next is the patch notes, right?
Well, this is part of the patch notes. The first thing the patch note was, yes, the Marauder 2 is coming out. Hopefully it's not a Night Star. A little bit above it, please. Hibernial Rift.
Interesting. I'm actually going to like this. Looks really cool. Yeah, basically I'm playing the video like now, and it looks gorgeous.
Yep, BGI do like their snow maps. And people do like voting for cold maps, and this is a good chance to have a cold map that isn't lots of big expansive plains. We also have Frozen City as well, so hey, there's cold maps that actually involve closer ranges, kind of. Like there's more brawling involved than Polar Highlands, Alpine Steeps, Frozen City, the abyss of Frozen City. And they say they've actually changed. It's not just Canyon Network with an ice paint covering over it. They've actually changed a few bits here and there. Like there is actually, in the low ground, the rivers look kind of hot. I wonder if they actually heat up the mech or have a different local temperature. That would be
interesting. Yeah.
And there's the actual slopes and angles and this, that, and the other are changed. Obviously, at least it's hard to tell when they're just moving the camera along the ground. It's like, oh, I get to see all the floor detail, but I just want to see the
The whole map.
The map from a bit further away. I want to see how it actually works. But right by that central hill, there's a slope you can go up, and they put a big dropship, like a drop-down dropship there.
Yeah, I've seen that now, actually.
That will radically change how that slope works. It's normally kind of a killing field with no cover whatsoever. That dropship, though, it's kind of in the way. Like, you have to go one side or the other, but it changes things up.
Yeah, what I'm wondering, though, is how they actually got the camera to go that slow, because every single time I actually use the camera, it's hella quick, and so I'm curious how they got it to go that slow.
This is just like, if they're in MechCon, they also have a proper camera control. That's because you need to attach a controller.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so I gotta get a controller then.
An Xbox controller, PlayStation controller with analog sticks.
Hmm. I want to start doing that. That'd be kind of nice to go and have, but oh well. I'll have to wait.
I bet the first trailer of this mech you do is going to be better than the PGI one.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Like, I'm gonna be excited about this. It's something new, and what's really cool is like the last two patches have been like, these two patches have been new maps. Like, granted, they are classic from the forest and the frozen city. But at least it's something new, something different. That's the thing that makes a lot of people kind of like hate the game a little bit, because like I'm playing the same damn map again. But at least this is different, so this is nice. Be good thing.
Yep,
I like this.
Maps much better idea than trying to introduce new game modes. So you just cycle maps in and out, and you can keep the game fresh. You can try and shake up the meta, so to speak, have people not just always do the same thing every time on the map. And people really like Canyon Network, and this is all you're doing is reskinning it and making it presumably colder to play on. So plus in most people's minds probably.
Also, I've been noticing too, like, how like in Canyon Network, you know where to go up as far as like the slopes, right? It shows a different type of color. With this, I don't think it actually shows anything as far as like where you could go up the slopes. You know what I mean?
I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to check that in detail.
Because like
usually with snow maps, there are more places to get up than without snow.
Might be.
Yeah, I'll have to try it out, because this is the funny thing with the PGI is the actual map, the textures below it are sometimes a little different from what you actually see, which just leads to those times you see an enemy, you shoot them and it hits an invisible wall, or you're trying to climb up a slope and it's a lot steeper than it actually appears.
Yeah. Cool. I'm excited. Cool deal. That's really nice.
Yeah, I want more hot maps though.
Yeah, I know you do.
We got a cold, frozen city. We got Forest Colony cold classic, and now a Canyon Network cold. Where's the hot maps? I want all these maps Canyon Network to be Caustic Valley-ized.
Oh god. So next we got bolt-ons. Yay. Okay, got some bolt-ons coming in for stuff. You can spin your MC on single mechs.
Finally, popular mechs, at least back in the day, the Bushwhacker. This should have been a priority, at least from PGI's perspective. If you're earning money from these bolt-ons, and it's worth your time, the Bushwhacker was popular. What you don't do is nerf the Bushwhacker's survivability and then months later give it bolt-ons. Give it the bolt-ons first, then screw them.
Although the Corsair, I might purchase some for the Corsair, because I mean it's a junk mech, so I'll put a bomb or a car on it or something like that on the back or something. That'd be kind of cool for the Corsair, since it's a junk mech, like anyways, or a Frankenstein mech. Yeah. Season 5 Solaris. Okay, you win stuff, you get things, play the game. Okay, cool.
Pretty much.
Sorry, whoever plays Solaris 7. Sorry about that, but
we're really sorry to those 2 persons.
We were sorry for the 3 people that play the game for Solaris 7. We're sorry, but I'm sure it's more, but we really don't cover that much.
Because the potential in Solaris sometimes, if you're a big streamer, for example, is you say, okay, everyone jump onto this division on Solaris 7, and we're going to run our own little competition. And that way, it's basically, oh hey, look, I got first place in Division 4 because we jumped on that month.
Yeah.
So, haha, I get my reward from PGI directly.
Exactly. Oh shit. Yeah. We yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna not go into that. Weapon changes. Okay.
Let's get to the important stuff. And I guess let's start flaming.
I don't know about flaming.
Maybe what we should do is go over the mech quirks, heat scale limit quirks and stuff like that first, and then we can go into the big topic of this patch and
Okay.
patch.
Oh.
So, first a few quirks for the Inner Sphere mechs. The Thanatos Hero is getting heat scale limit quirk added to it, and rocket launcher quirk. Rocket launchers are always kind of a gimmick weapon, so unlike the other heat scale limit quirks, this doesn't really interest me. It's okay. It's not going to make the mech really much more viable.
No.
Yeah.
Now, I think with the heat, 10% heat quirk on rockets is really, it's almost pointless.
Yeah.
It's like you're saving 0.4 heat per rocket 15. You're saving like 1 or 2 points of heat over the course of the entire game. I almost would just say, screw the heat scale limit quirk, rocket launcher heat minus 100%. There we go. It doesn't even matter. It's still a gimmick.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense though, because generally, like when you mount a crap load of rockets, especially if this has +2 quirks like added for the HSLs, you're mounting a ton of rockets on there. You're using a ton of heat, and it doesn't. 10% is not much. Go ahead and take off, and you will shut down. Period. End of story.
Well, the big thing is the ghost heat, so the heat scale limit. But the heat scale limit isn't even for. I'm not sure how exactly it applies because the rockets are sort of linked together. I need to test it, is the basic answer, but I think it's the usual way that you sort of have to fill this up with just rocket 15s. Might be the problem. And if you do throw in, say, a single rocket 10, sometimes it says, oh, you've put in a rocket 10, but you can only fire, let's just say, 2 rocket 10s together. You have 4 rockets here, so therefore we apply the rocket 10s, ghost heat, which means it's only 15s. I think that's how it works, but, don't quote me on that just yet.
I think they should have actually done the rocket 15 like HSL for the Thanatos. You should do like the Corsair like 7R rocket launchers period. That way I could mount a bunch of rocket 5s or something like that. And not have to worry about. Well, I got to mount 15 to get the +2 quirks. I don't want to do that.
You see, with this particular Thanatos, for some reason, I think part of it might just be because it's stock loadouts. So usually follow stock loadouts. But why are we being so pedantic about which particular rocket launchers you're using when the rocket launchers are always just a gimmick or an additional extra throwaway weapon?
Yeah.
And the extra funny thing is the Thanatos, the HA is a hero mech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they put quirks for gimmick on a hero mech, which to me is extra weird. Like if they would put a gimmick quirk on a regular mech that people can buy for steebles, sure, I could totally see people buying this mech for the gimmick and playing it once or twice a month to have fun. But put it on a hero, no one's gonna buy the mech for rocket launcher quirks.
The hero has always been shafted of the Thanatos line. It's one of the weakest of the Thanatos. It has the lowest agility and the weakest survival quirks. In fact, its agility used to be on the same level with the 5T. They actually gave it a tiny buff back in the past, but it still has really bad agility, really bad survival, and very little in the way of actual weapon quirks. And the reason for this was it had 5 missile hard points, because PGI hates missile mechs, and that has been the case even back in the case of the Thanatos. I paid the extra money for the Thanatos Hangover because I was eager for a mech with lots of missile hard points. It would be fun to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then they gave me it, and I look at the quirks, and it's like, I just wasted my money. I wasted my money on this mech that has terrible survival, terrible agility. It's got nerfed into the ground because it has a missile arm. A missile arm, by the way, that gets shot off easily, which has no survival to it. You nerf this mech into the ground so its missile arm could get shot off easily. What was the point in that? It was terrible, and that's sadly the same fate that the Marauder 2 is going through. At least in this case, you aren't spending precious MC or buying an additional pack to
Yeah.
get this mech. But yeah, the hangover has been shafted, and this rocket launcher gimmick, even if you gave it minus 100% heat, no ghost heat whatsoever, you still shafted it. So whatever. Hooray! It could do the rocket gimmick slightly better. You could be a tiny Marauder too, hey, with the missiles.
Yeah, like, the thing we didn't test actually was rockets when we did AMS testing.
Yeah.
Never tested that.
Well, they do get shot down more with the AMS testing, but it's you only have one go with the rockets.
Yeah, true.
To see the effects. All right, but yeah, along that line, just to move along, the Corsair, the 7R, the one with all the missile hard points, is also getting a general rocket launcher heat scale limit quirk and 10% heat added to it. That's okay. Indeed.
At least at least it's any rocket, so I'm happy about that. Very happy about that one.
Yeah. When you're doing quirks like 10% universal cooldown or 10% heat, I understand why you're not doing big numbers. But with rocket launchers, they're used just once. You can go crazy with the numbers, and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Oh no, that guy generated literally 0 heat when firing his rockets. He still wasted like 5 tons or whatever on that gimmick.
And he's done.
Really, yeah, he's done. He's done with it. It doesn't really matter the heat they generate. It does have an impact. They can shut down at this, that, and the other. But honestly, they are still just, for the most part, wasting tonnage.
So the Hellfire.
Yep, this is nice. The Hellfire was always in an awkward position that it didn't. Yeah, it was its most direct comparison is the Mad Dog, and the Mad Dog does actually get some fairly good survival and weapon quirks if you use certain combinations, certain omnipods. And the Hellfire often had just tiny little quirks here and there, and they're just giving it a slight, back push on the bum forward to try and make it a little bit more used.
But at least they're doing something, though. At least they're kind of saying, "Hey, try out the Hellfire. It's going to be great now. It's going to be great again."
The big one, at least the one I kept, was like the Hellfire 2, for example. I use it with ATMs, and that one has got an extra 5% ATM heat, so its ATMs are 10% heat less. And for all our griping in the future about missile health, ATMs are PGI's baby for some reason.
Yeah,
and
it's a clan weapon, that's why.
Well, yes. So yeah, I like the structure stays together a little bit longer. So just minor changes to the next. The Inner Sphere side, almost completely forgettable, but it's better than nothing. And Hellfire, it did need a bit of a little improvement, or at least I won't complain. It wasn't. It's kind of got a big exposure profile, so those big torsos, it's nice for them to stay around. That's the biggest thing in my mind.
One thing I thought was interesting, because Rush did say he was going to fix, well, not fix, but curb trolls. And one thing they put in here was the cadet. First 25 matches, cadets cannot talk in game with VoIP, and I thought that was interesting. I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I know there's a problem with Tear Down and his losers, but with the 25 cadet thing, I don't think that's a good idea for a simple reason, is that a lot of people who are playing the game, how do you do this, how do you do that, especially in Tier 5 when they're trying to actually get into it. As far as like I thought basically no team damage be good, be a good idea instead of actually the VoIP, because you want people to ask questions, because there's a big part of the community that actually will tell you, hey, try this and do this kind of thing. But if you take out the voice, well, of course, Tear Down as guys can't talk. Basis thing they have been doing, but this I don't think this is a good idea. I really don't.
So it's an interesting one. I think my counterpoint to your concern perhaps would be how much do people actually talk when they're completely new to a game?
Well, I haven't actually been in Tier 5.
Talking in that Tier 5.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah,
my time in there, it's usually fairly quiet. It's a lot of people sort of trying to figure out the game, and yeah, as you mentioned, there is at least I at least my experience when playing on alt accounts or whatnot was just been there's usually, I mean, even in the higher tier games, not many people talk, but for the newbies, my experience has just generally been silence, or sometimes there'd be toxic people chatting in the chat. So I wonder how much there is newbies asking questions, like, how often does it actually occur, and how much, if the thing with troll accounts, it's you make a new account, you jump into the game, and you just team kill people. That's usually how
Yeah.
they grief the others, and that's why they're always on their cadet bonus. They're not playing to build up an account. They're just coming in to blaze music on their speakers. They're coming in to team kill, and those things get reported, and their accounts get banned. And this there is, at least in tier 5, I have seen that there is this kind of problem, that there is a large enough people out there who are just mucking about, that it might very well be that you're getting rid of a bad thing much more than you are actually obfuscating a good thing.
Well, like with like if they actually made it with no team damage for the first, like say like 20, first 20 games, no team damage. Between 20 and 25, you do like 50% like that. That way, kind of go, hey, by the way, you're doing damage now. Just watch out. That way, that would stop actually trolls from. It's like, really, I gotta go play 25 games to do something, and then they play the game, they get banned. Yeah, they get still play and everything. Well, yeah, but with this now, with the 25 cadets or the 25 first matches, they can't talk. That would stop that. And but I don't know about tier 5, about people asking questions. I haven't played tier 5 for a long time. And my alt account, I have made a video of playing tier 5 and seeing how cool everyone it was, and they were back in the day. But that was a long time ago. And now I have no clue about tier 5. In fact, if you guys know about tier 5, go ahead and leave the comments down below. But if they made it, yeah, I guess if they made it, because if there's no one talking, stop the VoIP and stop team damage, and that'll stop 90% of the trolls that are out there.
Yeah, it's really out of our realm of expertise, to say the least. If you're somebody who is in tier 5, or a new player experience, and you see this affects you, let us know, or let PGI know, of course, because we can only really speculate.
But I thought it was interesting that actually there's at least doing something, type thing. But
yeah, it's also interesting, if you are in the cadet phase, your your title will always display as cadet.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Which is interesting, because even if you're in group queue or something, and there's somebody who's in a completely green mech or whatever, you can tell who are actually in fresh new accounts, who are just picking up the game.
Huh.
By their title. The issue is, at least, you can only see titles when you actually look at your teammates, or you hold down the Q button and it brings up all the displays. So how much people actually use that? How titles in and of themselves aren't that useful. So it's an interesting tool for us more experienced players to tell who the newbies are.
He's a newbie, get him.
The only consumer rights issue, I would say, a little bit with Cadet and the title thing, is if you buy a pack for a title, it kind of sucks that you have to play 25 games before you can actually play the title. But it's just a title; it's kind of worthless anyway. So
yeah,
it's a little sad, but you only have to play 25 games.
I think in the last year or 2 years, I only changed my title once, and that's it. Basically, I just didn't care. Really, doesn't really do anything. I forgot what my title is, actually. I have no clue what it is. But yeah, titles really don't match. But I guess Cadet, we'll know who's new, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of... Okay, cool. Yeah. So that was the bug fix. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. That's the bug fixes and improvements. I was curious. I did report a bug in the game. I was wondering if they would fix it this patch. Obviously, it's a very minor one. It's the targeting computers in game. These the sensor range is not actually the bonus you get. It's slightly off, and that's also included. That error is shown in the display of your mech's sensor range in the mech lab. So I was like, okay, the worst case scenario is you're with targeting computer Mark 1, and you lose about 1 meter's worth of sensor range.
I wonder when they're going to fix command consoles, basically make it actually viable, do that kind of thing, because I haven't seen anything for that. or like, hey, we're going to fix this. It's like there's nothing done for it.
Yeah, command consoles and target computers do give a slightly incorrect range buffs
Yeah.
as they're currently implemented in the game, but their range buffs are so minor, it's also not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I'm also kind of annoyed because I'm looking down at the bottom right and sometimes it's displaying, decimal numbers. And I'm like, it should just be like 125, but it's showing me 124.8. This is annoying.
Okay. So next we got weapon changes, correct? The missile health adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, one from Learn 5's going from 1 to 1.2 is not gonna make that much of a difference. My 3 AMS Nova will knock it out, especially if you have Learn 5 like launcher. Of course, if you play them all in one little single your 9 Learn 5s like on me, I might guess. But we tested it with the Lerm 20 for the clans, and I knocked them out, basically, as far as Lerm 20 wise.
Yeah, I mean, the most succinct way I'd put this would be following on from our previous podcast. I said the March patch gave like plus 10 fun to LRMs, but all the health changes gave about minus 20 fun to missile weapons in general, because they're just getting shot out of the sky much more. AMS has a longer range, etc., etc. This patch, it gives plus 1, maybe plus 2 fun back from that nerf earlier.
Yeah.
But that's about it. It's just slightly peeling back the nerfs and improving the buffs for ATM 3s and 6s. It was very noticeable when your MRM40 loses 80% of its missile health.
Yeah.
It getting 10% back is it's okay.
Still a 70% nerf.
Yes.
That's the one way to look at it. It's still 70% nerf, and that's way overkill for anything.
It was such a huge change they did in the first place, and they hid the numbers for. I'm glad though that they actually show us the numbers this time. And I think the change in March and this change is still really lazy. It does not take any account for tech bases, for number of missiles per ton invested, those kind of things, or hard points invested. If you sort of think like you invest 3 tons, you can get 2 ATM3s, 6 missiles. If you invest 3 tons, you can get an SRM6, 6 missiles. But those ATM3s have 1.6 times 6, whereas SRM6 has 0.6 times 6. It's like, less than half the health for the same number of missiles, the same tonnage investment. And the thing with ATMs is you can even take bigger launchers. The bigger launchers have still way better health than the SRM6. Why is it? SRMs in particular, in my mind, they're not always that great with how many tubes you get per tonnage invested. And you can only go up to 6 tubes per hardpoint. They're really hardpoint intensive. Why are SRMs getting such a short shift here? And it really does matter. Tech base. Innisphere pays twice the tonnage for their SRMs, and they have exactly the same health as clans. That seems awkward. Same for streak launchers as well. You're paying 50% more tonnage. You're paying, compare, was it like a streak 6 compared to a clan SRM 6? You're paying 3 times the tonnage. Exactly the same missile health. And clan LRMs versus Innisphere LRMs. Clan LRMs stream out, making them much more vulnerable to LRMs. I mean, obviously they weigh less, but all these tech differences, particularly in SRMs, have no balancing whatsoever. I think that's really, really bad for IS, because IS has to pay a lot for their SRM 6s. If you take an SRM 6 of Artemis, it weighs almost as much as that streak launcher, and it's got the same missile health as a 1.5 ton launcher, and it's got half 40% the health of a 1.5 ton launcher, the ATM3.
I think the best word we've heard so far on this is lazy. Like, I think Bida, you hit on the mark there. This change is lazy.
Yeah.
And
well, they're adjusting. Very good.
It's still lazy. Like, they just adjusted it up because they seen it as Oracle, and they did, in my opinion, they did not do any proper math. They did not test those values. They just said, like, okay, fine, missiles are too weak right now. We're gonna buff them slightly, and hopefully everything's gonna be fine. and I don't think it's gonna be fine.
I agree very strongly. Like, people often complain about ATMs being shot down, but ATMs are in this very similar boat to SRMs and streaks in the sense that you have to invest a lot to get very few missiles. It was only ATMs that people were complaining about, so they keep buffing ATMs whilst hitting the SRMs really hard with a Nerf bat. Why? That is ridiculous. The best you can do, particularly even like streaks versus ATMs, it's no contest. The best volley you can do with streaks is 18 missiles. The best volley you can do with ATMs is like, what, 27 missiles? And those 27 missiles are twice as tough, if not more, than the streak missiles. How is
And
that
they're gonna
fair?
do more damage.
Yeah.
Per
They
missile.
do more damage, more missiles, more damage. Yeah, particularly if you're comparing IS to Clan, way better tonnage invested per missile per damage basis.
I think my Arctic Wolf's gonna be nice though, because as I literally don't use ATMs that much except for on the Arctic Wolf, like maybe 1 or 2 other mechs. And so I guess health increase going from 1.6 is gonna really help that out. I know it was getting shot down like crazy, but this, I mean, it's gonna help at least some. It all helps some. Some will get through now. Like instead of like almost nothing. So that's a good thing.
There's a lot wrong with there's a lot of interactions with missile weapons, and it seems obviously, as we said, PGI is being incredibly lazy with how they've implemented this. They talk about, oh yeah, the different missile weapons have different velocities and this, that, and the other, but it's about how much damage those missiles do, how much you have to invest to get those missiles, etc., etc. And yet, like that Arctic Wolf build I put together was it's a streak ATM build. The idea was, back in the day, you fire the streaks and the ATMs together. The ATM 3s they're a bit slower than the streaks, so the streaks sort of cover for the ATMs. But now the streaks are made of paper mache for no reason. They're not a very good cover at all. You want to do it the other way around. It just ruins the streak ATM synergy for no reason. It was not even used at all, really, by the mainstream populace. Why did they need to hit that?
Well, hit with a Nerf bat, basically.
A huge Nerf bat. Before they did all the health changes, one of the strongest missile launchers in the games was ATMs already. MRMs have always been in the sort of average, workable position. They haven't ever been, like, they had problems where they were hardly ever played, and PGI slowly buffed them up to being usable. And then this change happens, and they're still usable, certainly, but they're a lot less consistent. And this is the big thing for me with this health change with AMS. You could take an MRM boat, and it will do a good job if there's no AMS on the field. You could even do it if there's a couple AMS on the field. You could still play perfectly fine. The problem is, when you jump into a match and on the other side where you're fighting and you really need to get a job done right here and now, there's a triple AMS mech, there's a quad AMS mech, and it shuts you down. And that feels awful. Who wants to jump? That's the problem, like with brawler mechs. Why would I want to take a brawler? Like an SRM brawler? Every time I'm jumping into a match, I have to hope it's a brawling match, a match where I can actually get close. And then I have to hope, the second thing, that there isn't a ridiculous amount of AMS, because my missiles are ridiculously weak for no reason. Whereas ATMs are made even stronger for some reason.
Yeah, I've got one more point to add insult to injury in this case. If you look at the design notes, they say something that missile health is only a single component, much larger system. And I love how they bring up the example of MRM, like saying MRM has some other attributes besides missile health that make it overpowered against AMS, so to say. And I just remember that one match I had with my quad AMS Corsair, where out of 80 MRMs, nothing got through. And this is not going to change by buffing the health from 0.2 to 0.3. So their explanation, even their commentary, just doesn't make any sense.
We had that with me and old Bob. I was firing, what was it, like a 40, a 30, a 10, and a 20. It's like MRM 80 or 90 or so all together at him. And only a couple were getting through, and that was with better missile health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was against the quad AMS Corsair, to be fair, and it had a huge range. Still, I think before all of these changes, I would have agreed that MRMs needed a bit of dip in health because they were strong against AMS. Like AMS had very, very little effect against MRMs. You were usually hit with a full blast, more or less. You shot down just a couple on the way in. But this nerf is ridiculously overtuned. Like the 80% nerf to MRM 40s. Why? That is. It's just, it was a lazy change in the first place, and it's a lazy way to try and catch back up from your overtuning from the first place.
Well, we'll see once the system comes into effect and see how the missile health will be used against AMS boats there in the Nova S, but just all depends.
Yeah, it'll be mostly the same, honestly, as the way it was before. The biggest issue, there's so many issues with these missile health changes. First was just the whole stupid larger launchers scrape more metal off the missiles when loading them into the tube.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I still think that's stupid. Balance-wise, a lot of these larger launchers were barely viable in the first place. And all you've done is heavily nerf them, whilst like SRM2s are back to where they were before. SRM2s were hardly used in the first place. All you've done is gone back to the very start, where they're not viable. All you've done is made SRM4s and SRM6s, Streak 6s, Streak 4s less viable. Why? What was the point? No point at all. Yeah,
No.
they aren't reverting the changes to rocket health, as far as, on this list.
No.
So rockets are remaining nerfed in average. Not by too much, it was only like 30-40%. But for some reason, rockets needed a nerf.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess with that we should just cut off our
Missile
very
bad.
polite discussion about PGI's nerf balance. And with that, thank you everyone for listening to the First Circuit Podcast, episode 81. Today we discussed a number of topics, including the events, the Faction Play PDS, and of course the upcoming patch. So if you missed anything, feel free to go back and listen to it again. Your hosts today were Bida,
Blarg.
Oldbob,
Hello.
and myself, IanDresarie. Thanks again for listening, and have a good week.